All right, y'all, we back with another video. So today we're going to be talking about our battle guide series episode 2, which is going to be talking about battle mechanics and kind of understanding which skills that you need to use, obviously at specific times. So as you know, the battle system in Phantom Parade is a turn-based skill battle in which allies can act once per turn, and then enemies, depending on who it may be, can act once or multiple times in a singular turn. So you want to select the most optimal skills for each turn to defeat an enemy naturally. So that's basically what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously rotations, things like that, skills that you want to be prioritizing and using, obviously depending on your situation, because no battle is the same. So we're going to just, run through, the Extreme 2 version of, Special Grade Cursed Spirit. So that we're going to use this as an example when we are doing our, explanation of battle mechanics, right? So we're going to move into our team real quick. So this is our Cursed EX2 team. And we're going to get right into it. So first, we'll talk about how a turn functions. So we have the rotation of one turn. The turn is, you'll have your start of turn. As you can see here, I'm at the start of my turn. Then you have a list of your skills, right? So you'll have your command selection, which will be your skills and your memories. So that'll be between your skills and your ultimate as well, right? So as you can see, I have all of these skills. What ends up coming after you select all the skills for all your characters will then proceed to be your action. So your team will always proceed to be the first one to take action, and then your enemies will take action. So you want to kind of like, make sure that you're killing enemies before they're killing you, right? So that way you can minimize how much of them are going in a single turn. So if a member's HP manages to go 0, then your teammate, he'll die, and then your backup character, whoever you have as your 5th slot, will automatically join the battle. So you want to keep that in mind as well when you are actually playing the game. Next up, we're going to be talking about what skill you want to be using when you are doing any form of content, even like this one, for example, right? So every character, when they start, has cursed energy, right? They start with a certain amount, and then they'll have a little bit more depending on how many times you limit break the character, right? Some characters, when they reach like limit break 2 or 3, they will get a little bit more cursed energy at the start, which will then allow them to use different skills at the start that they have more access to, because obviously you'll have some skills, for example, like let's say this one, let's go Kathy, which will be 30 cursed energy, right? But like, let's say if I had no dupes and I only started off with like, I don't know, like 20 cursed energy or 10 cursed energy, then I would only be able to use tutoring and not my 3rd skill, right? So that's very dependent on how many dupes you have on the character when you are doing any sort of type of quest. So I just want to make note of that as well. Obviously, when you are fighting certain specific content, every content is different. So doing specific things at specific turns is going to be a little bit difficult to talk about, because you can have a turn where an enemy doesn't do anything and you'll be fine to use a different skill, or you'll do a turn and that enemy will do a giga attack, which will hit anybody and everybody and do tons of damage, and you might want to have to CC them. So it all depends on obviously having the right characters, what skill is going to help you in that specific turn and that situation, and obviously you have to plan ahead for the preceding turns in terms of like how much damage you want to do. So for example, Yaga, right? Let's say these enemies have too much HP, then I want to buff him here so that way I can increase the amount of damage I do, so that way I'm able to take 1 or 2 out before they attack me, so I can lessen the amount of damage I take in a singular turn. Now let's say if they were to use buffs, then obviously I probably wouldn't even need the buff here. I can use other skills if need be, right? So like I said, it's going to be very reliant on what kind of content you're tackling and what skills you might need to use. And of course, you have to manage how much cursed energy you're also using. So you're going to have to play the game and run through the quests, of course, through trial and error to kind of understand how much damage an enemy does, what kind of skills they have, and etc., right? Now let's talk about the memories that you do have on your characters. So your characters do have memories, and those memories are going to be the things that are going to kind of help you decide what you're going to be using in a specific turn, right? Each memory has their own cooldown. So if you were to use this memory right here, can't use it for another 8 turns, right? All your memories are always start off like ready to go, unless they're conditional, like this memory right here, which can only be used on the ultimate skill. So of course it's not up at the current moment until I get my ult. Now, some characters do have their memories that you still don't want to use at the beginning. For Gojo, for example, I have my DPS memory on him. There's no reason for me to use the DPS memory on him at the beginning of the fight, only at the end of the fight. Luckily, there is some memories where their cooldowns will only be 6 turns, and since Gojo has a 7-turn cooldown before leaving, you can use the memory straight off in the beginning and use the memory at the final turn before he leaves as well, right? So you kind of have to play that in mind as well when you are trying to make these plays and doing your turns. This goes the same for other memories, not even like only your damage memories. Like let's say for this memory, for example, I could use this one straight off the bat because this one just gives ultimate charge gauge, right? So we just want to get all our ultimates straight off the bat with our characters. We would just use it straight away. You know what I'm saying? But then there's some other memories where like you have this one, for example, that increases damage dealt to all allies, right? Let's just say if it had the 4 turns and you're going to be nuking on your 5th turn, then you're completely fine to use it right now. And then obviously use it on the turn that you're going to nuke because you would have it at that specific moment. So you also have to time ahead on how long the cooldowns are going to be for your memories when you actually will need it again, right? We're still going to be talking about a little bit more about memories. There are some memories that do have extra effects that will help you in battle. So for example, we will have a memory that will be able to provide effects after you get their first limit break. Every memory has access to this. Every SSR and every SR memory has access to an extra effect from their passive skill. With this, you'll be able to kind of change your circumstances and how you activate your specials and skills depending on what you need to do, right? There's some that are conditional, some that aren't conditional. Depends on what you plan to use and what you need it for. You might need one memory that provides you, some kind of ult gauge. For example, I'll use the hollow purple memory as an example. That memory provides damage, right? You want to use that memory when you ult. But on top of that, it has a passive skill where every time you enter a wave, you will receive 200 ultimate gauge. So for characters like Gojo who leave after 7 turns, it synergizes really well with him because you'll be able to get your ult gauge a lot quicker and may be able to fire off multiple ults, which will also kind of dictate when you want to be using your ults as well to kind of time and plan for the future of when you're going to ult and make sure that you're actually ulting 2 times, right? And not end up being a little bit off from an ult and then he's leaving that turn. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways on how to use memories and their capabilities. They depend on your circumstances, but most of the time, damage increasing ones are going to be used for your entire team when you're going to nuke. And if they're like support ones that charge your ult gauge or something, they're going to be used whenever you can use them. And if they're like DPS memories for your DPS characters, you want to use them on the most important moment when they're actually going to strike with, like, for example, their ult. Now I'll just run through a little gameplay here, nothing too crazy, just so you can kind of get an understanding of how the actual combat is. I probably should have done it earlier, but it's never too late, right? So we're just going to start off with our first turn. It's going to be Yaga buffing, so he's going to be doing exactly what I have him here for. So I'm going to buff. Then I'm going to stun the blue guy, right? Because maybe I don't want the blue guy to attack me. But I'm also going to use the memory as well, right? So you can go back to your characters if you accidentally choose the wrong thing by clicking on their icon. And then let's say I want to buff with Gojo, right? I want to use this turn to buff him. And that's what we're going to do. I need some cursed energy because I'm running out of cursed energy and I needed to keep my characters up. Well, this character luckily has cursed energy. Boom. I selected all my skills. As you can see, we are in a standby point where you can either go back to the characters and select what skills they want just in case if you don't have the right ones. And then you just click this button right here and this will actually pass your turn. And then you'll see that we're going to be going first before the actual enemies. And then the enemies do their turn, right? So that's kind of one thing you also want to keep note of when you're also using specific skills at specific moments, right? Now let's say there's still too many people and I need to CC somebody, so I'm gonna CC them and then I'm gonna attack the other one so I have less people to attack me. Now I only have to worry about one guy attacking me. All right, perfect. Now we're good to go. I need the buff again because I need more damage. All right, I need the CC, but this big guy, he CCs. So now this is going to be a big breaking point. You have one enemy who can attack your whole entire team, and then you have one enemy who just does a lot of damage, single target. Well, I don't want the big guy to CC me, so I'm going to attack him with a stun to make sure I don't get hit, and then I'm going to attack the other one and try to kill him. I need more energy, but I'm going to wait because I don't need it at the moment. One enemy's dead, and then obviously it will be their turn, but luckily I CC them so they can't move, and then obviously I'll just do my turn and finish it off, right? So that's the kind of standard. Obviously, if you've ever played a turn-based game, this is very common with obviously timing. Who do you want to attack? Who do you want to CC? What moves need to be used at when and where and why? There's always going to be those things when you are, obviously tackling any form of content. Of course, you know, you got to do these through trial and error, as I stated before, where you kind of have to understand what the enemies do, so that way you are stunning the right one and killing the right one and all that good stuff, so that way you can actually complete it. Now we're going to be talking about the final thing, which I'm pretty sure a lot of players have been using this. I don't use it too often because a lot of the content is very difficult and you might need to actually play the game. So that is going to be the auto mode feature, which you can see on the top right hand corner, which allows you to play the game on auto. Now, the thing with auto mode is the AI isn't that smart right now at the moment. JP has already fixed this issue in the future, but for some reason on global they decided not to release this option. So at the time of recording this video, it is currently not in the game at this point in time, you know, basically around the release of the game. Just in case if someone happens to watch this video in the near future, there's a possibility that they might have added the better AI for auto. But anyways, let's talk about how the auto mode functions when it selects your skills. So since we're already on Yaga, we'll kind of use Yaga as an example, right? So obviously, as you know, everything has cursed energy. Every character has cursed energy. So there's specific times when the auto mode can't do what you might need it to do. So for example, when auto mode is active right now, if I were to click auto, it would always select my skill 3 because it will be my highest damage skill in priority, right? So it will always be this skill. It would always use this skill first. So it wouldn't use my buff, even though that's the reason why you would want to use Yaga. It would always use my skill 3, which is very bad for me because we don't want to use that. But let's say, for example, we have enough cursed energy. We don't have enough cursed energy for it, right? Then it will select skill 1 and use the attack skill, right? So they will never buff. They will always use attack skills like literally all the time because they're always going to select whatever is the highest damage skill into priority. So if you have enough cursed energy, it will use skill 3 for Yaga, and if you don't have enough cursed energy, then it will use skill 1. Even if you have 20, he will not use tutoring. He will use his first attack to attack the enemy, which is very bad for us because obviously Yaga is mainly a buffer and he doesn't really do that much damage. So now I'll kind of use other characters as an example as well. Let's kind of go to Gojo, right? Now, obviously, Gojo is kind of going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of give an example for because of all his skills are always like, you know, 1 cost. So there's not really much to lose here. But they'll always try to prioritize your attacking skills over your buffing skills. So you'll never see this at the light of day on auto. You would have to use manual to actually use your buffing skills. So the game will always try to select whatever skill you have that does the highest amount of damage. So he's going to be using this skill most likely, which is going to be his first skill on auto. Very unfortunate. I will click auto just here in a sec, so that way you can kind of see what it's selecting. But yeah, in most cases, if you have your skill 3, like your highest damaging move on skill 3 or skill 2, right, it will always select that move over anything, right? Whatever is the highest damaging one that you can do that costs cursed energy, it will do that one. And then when you don't have cursed energy, it will always prioritize your normal attack or normal skill, which is very unfortunate for how the auto mode should function. On top of that, it is also working against you with the fact that when your special is available, it will just use your special whenever you have it, right? It's like, okay, it will just use it straight away. So if you still needed to build buffs or something or all that good stuff, or you didn't need the ult this turn, it will just use it immediately. So of course, it's not going to be the best plan of action. On top of that, it will use your memory whenever it's available. So if you start off on turn 1, it would just literally use all your memories. So it's like if I were to start off and play the game, he would use this memory and then he would use my highest attacking skill. Boom. On turn 1, and I literally don't need this at the moment because this increases damage dealt for all allies, and you want to use it when you're actually going to nuke, right? So memories that heal are not recommended if you're going to play auto mode because they will use it immediately, and it's really bad for you just because on turn 1, boom, your characters are already full HP, and then they will use the memory to heal your team, and you didn't need any healing. So it's very important that you kind of understand how auto mode works. That's why it's not recommended to play this game on auto mode just yet until they actually revamp the auto mode feature. But currently, that's how it functions. So I'll just leave it on auto mode so you can see how foolproof this auto mode feature is, bro. As you can see, used all my memories, all my specials, used everything it could possibly use that's available to it. And it did use the highest attack skill for the buffer, even though we wanted him to buff. And you see Yaga could have used his buff skill, but instead he chose to use his highest attacking move. Same with Gojo, he'll never buff himself, he'll just use his normal attack. Same with the last guy, Yuki, he's always using his normal attack as well, even though he has curse energy. So yep, that's basically how auto mode functions, and yeah, that's basically the mechanics and all the skills and everything, how you know how to play the game, essentially. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully I was able to, you know, kind of explain it well. I know I kind of slip up a little bit here and there, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm not perfect. But anyways, peace.